building game. It's really fun. I played it with my family. It was my sister, my mom, and my girlfriend, and it was a blast. Basically you have your starter hand. You get to pick between Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville, and each of those characters have like certain skills that they are like good at, and or not necessarily good at, but so like if something happens or something gets triggered, then something can play out from that. So like Harry, if something gets a certain item gets removed from the board, then he can get one attack skill that he can now attack one of the villains. So yeah, it was really, really, really fun. And but we got a little frustrated towards like the 5th round because we started getting these villains that were instantly taking away our health, and then we'd have to draw like an extra card and all this stuff. And so it was just like we had to replay it. I probably at least 4 or 5 times, and but we finally got through it. We completed the game, and it was a blast. It was fun. There were times where we thought we were going to lose, and we ended up pulling out a win, and it was so much fun, even through the frustration. Like I said, my only complaint is, the RNG of it is just a little too high, but I give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was super fun. If you love Harry Potter, if you're a huge, Harry Potter head, then you will love this game. It's super fun. Check it out. It's Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. I don't know for sure how much it is. I want to say it's around $35, but that's pretty good for a tabletop game of this stature. My sister did tell me that there's also going to there is already an expansion pack for it, to where you can get Luna as a playable character, and there's more spells, more items, more allies that they add in, more villains. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Check it out. And then another one we've been playing is called Potion Explosion, which I know, Harry Potter and then a game called Potion Explosion. But it's a game by a company called Horrible Games, which that's a genius name. It's for 2 to 4 players. So basically there's marbles and their ingredients. And so what you do is on your turn, there's I think it's 5 or 6 rows of ingredients of these different colored marbles. And you take one, and then after you take it, if you connect marbles of the same color, they essentially explode, and you can take those. And you can get a chain reaction, the other night my mom ended up getting a chain reaction, and she wiped out an entire row of marbles. So she just had all these ingredients that she could use for her potions. But you complete the potions with the marbles you do collect, and then each of those potions have magic properties, and you drink them to use those properties. And then so you can get, there's one where it's called the party potion, and say if you need red but you have yellow marbles, you drink the party potion, and you can put those yellow marbles in the red slots, or whatever, you can put whatever color marbles in the ones that you need. But you get bonuses for getting 5 unique potions and 3 of a kind of the same potion. And then basically, like any other game, whoever has the most points at the end wins. My family, even my son, really loves this game. He's 8, so it's family-friendly, kid-friendly. And we already want to get the expansion for it, which adds more marbles and potions. So it's a game that we all love playing, and it's super fun. And every round, every time we play it, it's different. There's some games where I just wipe the board and I have a bunch of potions, and there's other games where I end up with 3 potions. So it just depends, and it's fun. It's a blast. And I give it a 9 out of 10. So Potion Explosion and Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. I think each individually, like I said, they're $30, maybe $35. But yeah, and I'll have the next episode I'll have another 2 tabletop games that we're going to be playing, and I'll do reviews for those as well. So if you're into tabletop games and you want to, or even if you want to try out tabletop games, I'll be sure to keep doing them, because I love playing tabletop games, and if you want to know what's up with them, then I'll give recommendations as well. Or if there's some that you guys like and you love playing them, let me know, and I'll be sure to try to check them out. I know we're going to be trying to start a D&D campaign soon-ish, so I'll be sure to go through and talk about that a little bit, about like what kind of character, which I'll probably end up being a ranger, because that's what I always play. But yeah, I'll be sure to talk about that as well. So that's the end of tabletop games, and it brings us to the very end of my podcast episode of this week. Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I really liked this film. I know a lot of people, there's a huge, issue of, it's so-called bombing in the box office, or, it's a box office flop. And so you see these titles, and me, if I was just a casual moviegoer and I wasn't as invested in Star Wars as I currently am, I would see those and I would think, oh, well, it's a flop. Well, in my mind, I would think, well, this movie isn't good. And I feel like that's really detrimental to this movie, because it's a good movie. I mean, it's not, an Oscar award-winning level type movie, but it's a good movie. Alden Ehrenreich, I hope I'm saying his name right, Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, and Woody Harrelson all did tremendous. Paul Bettany, as well, I mean, for what he was given as a character, like, he did really well. And I know so many people were worried or just, like, throwing a fit over Alden being cast as Han because he didn't, quote, look the part. But he fit the role almost perfectly. Like, he had that suave, roguish demeanor that Harrison Ford brought to the character back in 1977. I mean, he did well. But while he did do well, Donald Glover really stole the show as Lando. And whenever they introduced his character, the way they did it, they didn't show him as he was talking. And me and my girlfriend both legitimately thought it was a young Billy D. Williams. That, it was so scary how close he was to how Billy D. was back then, and even still. And his interactions with his droid companion L337 were great. I know that's another character that people are social justice warrior bullcrap and all that stuff, but it was just a fun character, guys. Like, it was a character I would expect to see, within the Star Wars universe. It made sense within the lore of Star Wars, but she was great. I loved her character, and honestly, I could watch an entire film based around both Lando and his droid companion L337, because they were just that great together. Now, I will say that the pacing was a little bit sluggish in the first act, but once the second act started, it was just all up from there. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was fun. But I know it's been out for a bit now, but I'm still going to go ahead and do this. Spoilers ahead from here, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, don't listen. If you have seen it and you want to hear what I think about it, go ahead and keep listening. Or if you haven't seen it but you don't care about spoilers and you just want to hear what I think about the movie and certain parts of it, you can go ahead and keep listening too. But spoilers from here on out. So I will just start out saying, while I do enjoy the connection of all the movies between, like, the original trilogy, the prequels, and the sequel trilogy, and even the standalone movies that they've been doing, I love the nods to the films. I didn't really need to know minute details. Like, for example, I don't need to know how Han Solo got his dice. I mean, because it wasn't like it wasn't a prominent focus in the original trilogy, and it's only really being focused on from, like, the sequel trilogy. And I know, like, you can briefly see the dice in in the original trilogy, but I don't know. I don't need to know that kind of stuff. It's neat. It's really neat, but I don't know. I just feel like that kind of stuff isn't something that I personally care about. But like I said, I know, like, the lore of everything. There are people who, wanted to know how Han Solo got his dice or why he got his dice and stuff like that. So, and I also think that if you weren't knowledgeable to the issues that were going on behind the scenes of, change of directors, and I think there was even a change of writers, and all those issues, and like they had to bring in an acting coach for Alden because they didn't feel like he was up to par of where they wanted him to be. I don't think you would really be aware of like the pacing issues or the impact that those issues had on scenes with like Paul Bettany, which they didn't even bring in Paul Bettany's character until Ron Howard came aboard, and he kind of wrote that character in, which Paul Bettany, he plays a gangster, and even though he's only in 2 scenes, I felt like his character could have been a little bit more prominent, more than just those 2 scenes. I thought his character was interesting, but like I said, he's only in 2 scenes, and it didn't really add that much to the movie, which I was kind of bummed out about because I think Paul Bettany's a fantastic actor, and I kind of feel like he was underutilized in this film. But I can also see how it would be easy to cut into the movie and just completely pick it apart. But honestly, guys, it was like a really fun 2 hours. Like, I was enjoying it. I was laughing at stuff. It didn't seem like forced humor, but it didn't seem forced, and it's the kind of movie you can watch once or twice, in theaters, and you're good, like, I'll probably buy it when it comes out, and, if my son wants to watch it, and, I'll watch it with him. It's not one of those movies where I try to avoid, I don't really want to watch that movie, like, even good movies that, like I've seen, and I've only watched Watchmen like twice, and I like that movie a lot. It's a great movie, but it's one of those movies I can only watch in like very few and far between. And that's kind of how this movie is for me. Like, it's really good. It was a lot of fun in theaters, but I don't know how well that fun is going to translate onto like a home screen, like a TV, but we'll see. I don't know if Disney is going to continue to try to pursue more young Han Solo movies. I know, like I said, like this movie isn't doing too well financially, so I don't know if they're going to refocus on other characters or if they're going to try to take a break from like these standalone movies. But I would honestly prefer more movies with original characters, like how they did with Rogue One. I thought Rogue One was great. There was great characters. It was well acted. It was new. It was fresh. But my biggest concern with these standalone movies is, for the love of all things holy in the Force, please stop putting lightsabers in every single movie. I know they sell toys. I know it's like the cool Star Wars thing, but can we please take a break from them? Like, obviously the trilogy movies are focusing on, the Skywalkers. So there's the Force, there's Jedi, there's, lightsabers. I get that. Like, I go into those expecting it. But whenever I go into Rogue One, and all through the entire movie, there's no Force, there's no Jedi, I should say. There's no Sith. And then at the very end, who shows up? Darth Vader with his friggin' lightsaber and the Force. Like, that scene was cool. That scene was really cool, but I didn't need it in the movie, And then, like, in this one, Han Solo, the entire movie, there's no Force use, there's no Jedi, there's no Sith. And then the very end of the movie, who shows up on a hologram thing? It's friggin' Darth Maul. And it's like, okay, whatever, it's cool, you can show Darth Maul, but then for whatever reason he just ignites his lightsaber, and it's like, I don't need to see that. I don't know. I just hope to see something more, like something branched out more, like, and I know like Star Wars, has always followed the Skywalker family and yada yada yada, but these standalone movies don't have to. They don't have to follow that same mold or the same style as the trilogy movies. And, I'd like to see him break out and try to do like an Old Republic or movies about bounty hunters, or even a swoop racing film, like a racing film. Like, do it with swoop racing. That would be super cool. Like, I think that would be really fun. But I'm sure they would find a way to incorporate the Force or a jet